Hello ladies and gents, in the previous video we bound our input fields to a JSON model, so when we update the model, input values are also updated automatically. But we also want the opposite of this behavior, so when we change the input values in the UI, we want the model to be updated automatically as well. And this is possible via something called two-way data binding. And we can actually set the binding mode of our model with the setDefaultBindingMode method. So let's do it. As soon as we create our model, here we say set default binding mode, and for the binding mode enum, this is lowercase, I'm going to import another dependency here, which will be an enum named SAP UI model binding mode. Let's copy it as an argument to our callback function. Then here we pass in binding mode.toWay. Now this is the default behavior anyway, but I'm going to leave it here as a reference. Now to test this, let's go back to our create product fragment. And for our input field here, let me break this into multiple lines first. Let's add a new event handler for the event named live change that we have available for input controls, and let's call it on live change product name, and we copy it and implement it in our controller. Let's do it here, and this time I will be needing the event object. And here first I want to log to the console the value from the input, so I say oEvent.getParameter, and we have an event parameter named value, and this will be the value that I put in the UI. Let me also label it, let's say input, and the second thing I want to log is the value from the JSON model. Let me call this model, and we can say this dot get view dot get model. The name of the model is input, and since we only need a single property from the model, we say get property. And it's at the root level, so it's slash and name. So this will return us this property right here. Now I know we haven't set our model to our view, so this app view here, but since we set it to the component, it's available for the whole application, so it's automatically set to all the views and all the controls inside the views. And since we added this fragment as a dependent to our app view, it's also available for our fragment. Let's go back. We already saved this, and go back to our application. Clear the console. Now let me type something here, Brad. And now with every keystroke I can see the value from the input, but the model property is just empty. But if I click tab and go out of this input, and go back and type some more characters, now our model is updated. And the other option is to press enter, and if I make more changes, our model is again updated. But we would prefer to update the model with every keystroke, and to achieve this we need to set another property for our input fields. So let's go back to our fragment, and the property we need is named value live update, and we set it to true. I will copy this since we have more inputs, for example the price, and that's it actually. We don't need this property, by the way, nor do we have it available for the combo box, for example, or the date picker, because we have to take an action to change the value of this kind of inputs, and the model is updated automatically. Now let's go back to our application. We save this, clear the console and try again. And now if I type something here, we can see that the model is also updated simultaneously. Now let's go back and remove this live change event handler that we added just for testing. Also remove it from here. And instead what I want to do is when we click on create, so here in onPress create new product handler, I want to log to the console the whole data of our JSON model. So I say console.log, again this dot get view dot get model, name of our model, and then get data is another method we can use for JSON models. Let's go back and create our product, bread, food, €4, and some dates here. And when I click create, I can see in the console the data from our JSON model, and we have the category, which is the selected key of food, and we have the dates, we have the price, and we also have the name. Now since we have access to all this information, let's go back to our event handler here, and we no longer need to fetch every single value like this. So I'm going to remove everything here. Anyway, it's never a good idea to access any control via its ID and manipulate it or get its data. So you should always use models whenever you can. Now since all the data we need is present in our model, let me just cut this from here. And I define a new variable here, const OData equals this data from our model. Let's copy this. So let's see what we have as product name. We can say OData.name. Price is OData.price. This is hard-coded, and then category is OData.category, and release date is OData.release date. And attributes discontinued date will be OData.discontinued date. Let's save and check. Let's do Dr. Pepper this time. It's a beverage, €1. Some dates, we save. And we can see everything works except for two things. First is the category here. We now see the selected key instead of the text, which we will fix in a later video. And the next one is, even though I selected a date that was bigger than the current date, we still see unavailable as our state. Let's fix that. So far we have been using this value attribute for our date pickers, which just returns the string value for a date, which is nice for displaying on the screen. But for comparisons we need to use another property which is named date value. And this will return us the JavaScript date object instead of a string. Let's also fix this date value. So in here, our controller, we can do proper comparisons with other JavaScript date objects like these ones here. Now let's go back and test again. Dr. Pepper beverage, €1. And let's say 6th, create. Now we see available. Let's also test the other case, bread, food, €2, and discontinued yesterday. And now we see unavailable. Now that would be all for this video, and hope to see you in the next one.